You're live. Good morning. It is still April 3rd. We're back in Senate Judiciary with 171. To get a quick walk, it's a short bill, and we're able to fit it in. We have Michelle here from that.
Good morning. For the record, Michelle Child's Office of Legislative Counsel, and we are looking at it as passed by the House. And as the chair mentioned, it's pretty short. It's really just one section with the addition of the effective date section. And the purpose of it is for stakeholders to get together and develop and establish protocol for investigations for officer-involved shootings. I think through questions that came up in the House, what is the process? It kind of became evident that there wasn't like one standard protocol for interagency cooperation, who takes what, who does what. And so this is aimed at trying to get one, and so everybody understands the process, because obviously when you have those types of events, there are often professional conflicts, right? So in terms of that, you need to look for someone outside of that law enforcement community to do an investigation. So subsection A is just kind of a finding that it's in the best interest of victims and law enforcement officers to efficiently and thoroughly conduct independent investigations of any type of officer-involved shooting. And the intent of this is just to facilitate cooperation amongst the stakeholders. Subsection B, starting on line 13, are the folks who are going to get together and come up with something. So it's the AGO, it's DSAS, Department of Public Safety, and the Vermont Association of Chiefs of Police are to work collaboratively to identify a protocol and best practices for independent investigations. Subsection C are some of the things that should be in this protocol. First one is a definition of an officer-involved shooting. 2 is a definition of conflict of interest, so identifying appropriate steps to manage any type of conflict of interest between the prosecutor or law enforcement agencies. Page 2 is delineate the process for informing all the other parties who might be involved. 4 is identifying the general steps for law enforcement investigations. 5 is describing the process for prosecutorial assessment of the investigative materials, including if there are dual investigations going on. 6 is evaluating the process of investigation and prosecutorial review to ensure timely criminal charging and determinations. So, our charge is going to be brought, or is someone cleared, they can make it back off to their regular duties and off of desk duty. Identifying and addressing existing barriers to timely criminal charge determinations that you can hear from state's attorneys, by the AGO as well, around sometimes this can take a long time because they need expert witnesses, and that can really limit the amount of time that they take. And then the last one is outlining the final outcome of investigation and assessment, such as clearing someone for filing criminal charges. Subsection D is that they're to examine other jurisdiction protocols just to inform how they develop their own. And subsection E is they're to file one report with you by December 1st of this year, and identifying what protocol is and if there's any for any type of legislation with regards to those.
That's a question, but I'm surprised that didn't have a standard protocol for how to investigate the different agencies. There's multiple agencies involved. Any questions for Michelle?
Just one. I'm looking through it, Michelle, and I'm assuming that with all the agencies involved, looking at this protocol, whatever it is. So I'm familiar with this. Hopefully they'll address a concern from the media, requests, and so on and so forth during this process. It's a lot of there was names involved in it, like this. I'm familiar with, and the media was relentless on obtaining footage, so on and so forth, prior to the investigation actually coming to a conclusion. Because it took so long, I like. So I'm hoping that I'm sure they will when they get together, making this come because Kim's here. they at least include the immediate portion of this as far as what can and cannot be released on this the process. Because there was the incident would involve someone from another county going into another county, was involved in the shooting incident, and immediate from as far away as Minnesota was contacted local medias. Police says it's yours, you know, it's your office. State's attorney was saying, no, you can't release this. The attorney general saying, oh, it's under investigation. The media were relentless why here on the release of this material here. So I'm just hoping that when they do this, the state turns off, so we'll bring that to the forefront, dealing with the outside source of that or requesting information.
You're thinking about in terms of in the protocol, maybe them referencing the PRA that one gets released. I think they're not.
Right, because we have the state's attorney's office looking at it from one aspect, and then obviously the AGO's office becomes involved in this also. And neither one of them wanted to release footage or whatever until the investigation was complete, which made somewhat of a problem then. I heard that they were keep referring to the AG's office and said, no, you can't release this, whatever else. And it's a concern. It's something that really is a concern of mine. And this is dealing with the multiple requests. Hope they look at that when it's not easy.
All right, I'll be taking shares. So you can, so Tim can sit with you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hello again, Kim McManus, Department of State's Attorneys and Sheriffs. And this, if I can start with that last point, as the records officer, in addition to the legislative policy attorney, I really appreciate you bringing that up, the records request, and then multiple agencies have access to the records. They're then all getting individual requests, and then agencies, as practice, are consulting with each other before releasing it, so that it doesn't interfere with somebody else's investigation. But I think that I just made a note. I don't think it needs to be added to the bill, but I think that is something that should be added into the protocol. I appreciate that. For the department, we support the bill as amended and passed by the House. As a frame of reference, when this bill was introduced, it was really focused on the timeliness issue of why investigations very, very lengthy time for completing the investigations. So while there's no strict protocol, there's definitely a process for these investigations. It's not that when the wheels reinvented anytime it happens. The state's attorney's office reviews the investigative material, the AGO reviews the investigative materials. The offices confer if they have different opinions, and they would release those if they have a similar opinion. Then they just confer on who's announcing that opinion and the decision. But it was really the issue of timeliness, and there was some very powerful testimony by an individual officer, but also from officers who represent various associations for officers, just talking about the weight of waiting to have a decision on whether or not an officer involved in a shooting is going to be cleared of that shooting or going to be charged criminally. And so through that conversation came out, let's really dig into what is taking that time, and in that, let's clarify the protocol. Because again, that would probably further clarification is going to hopefully make things more efficient and more timely for the officer, for the community, for the victim's family, or the victim. So we completely support that this bill has shifted to creating this work group to create this protocol.
Any changes that you think it could be here?
No, we went, I think when it's shifted to a protocol, I think we met 2 or 3 times on the outside. We feel that what's been listed for what is needed in the protocol. It's, you know, those larger categories, those subcategories within that, we didn't feel like we needed to list those for the public records. I don't think we need to list that, so I'll definitely bring that to the group. And again, I have a personal interest in having that cleared up.
Were there, I guess this might be a question for Michelle, were there any other entities that wanted to be a part of this, the working group?
We didn't hear from anyone else.
Yeah, I don't recall anyone.
Any questions? Yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Generally, any comments or discussion on this? We're not gonna vote on it today, but
It's pretty straightforward.
okay, so we'll vote on it next week, unless we hear from some other folks who want to testify on it. I think that wraps up everything for today. As a wrap, you can, Director?